Okay, so the next part, we're going to solve one variable quadratic inequalities. We're going to treat these inequalities the same way we would treat a quadratic equation. So you're going to solve it using your method of choice. So you can factor, quadratic formula, square root method, or completing the square. So let's look at this example. We're going to start by solving to figure out what x equals if this was just an inequality or an equation instead of an inequality. So I'm going to check, can I factor this? So I'm going to figure out AC, A is 1, C is 5, multiply those together to get 5, and B equals -6. So we're going to find two numbers that multiply to 5 but add to -6. So I know the only numbers that multiply to 5 are 1 and 5, but I know it has to multiply to be positive, so they could both be positive or they could both be negative. And the only pair that adds to -6 would be the second one. So that tells me I'm going to split this middle term into a -x and a -5x. Or -1x, -5x. The rest of the equation, your A and your C, stay the same. Then you factor out your GCF from the first two terms and the last two terms. So between x squared and -1x, we can factor out an x. And between -5x and a +5, we're going to factor out a -5. So remember, if that first term is negative, you need to factor out a negative with it. Oh, not a 5, a 1, sorry. When you do this, your parentheses should be the same. If they're not, go back and double check your work. And what we're doing is we're basically factoring that out to the front. So then we would have x minus 1. And then the parts that we factored out earlier, that's going to be our second set of parentheses. Now with these, we have to solve for what x is going to equal. That is our first step. We need to solve for what x equals. So you're going to set each of these equal to 0. So x minus 1 equals 0 tells us x equals +1. And x minus 5 equals 0 tells us x is going to be +5. Yeah, so far we solved it the exact same way we did the last chapter. Okay, so then we are brought to step 3. We're going to create a number line with the solutions from step 2. So let's create a number line. We have a +1, +5. That's all you need on your number line. And then you're going to identify when the values of the inequality would be positive or negative. And this is going to help us find our solutions. So through this, we are going to sketch a parabola. We're going to think of this as our x-axis. When we graph a parabola, the part of where it crosses the x-axis are our solutions. So these two numbers, 1 and 5, is where our parabola is crossing that x-axis. If our parabola is opening up like this one, that means the vertex would have to be somewhere down here. And our parabola would be going up through the 5 and up through the 1. So now when we look at our original inequality where we had x squared minus 6x plus 5 is less than 0, we want to look at when we plug in numbers 1, 0, 5, 10, whatever we plug in, we want to look at when we plug it in and evaluate when this would be less than 0. Anything that is below here, that is less than 0. Anything that is above this line is going to be greater than 0. So for this one, our parabola is only less than 0 when it's between the numbers 1 and 5. Once we know when it's going to be less than 0, when it's true for that inequality, we're going to write our final answer as an inequality. And these inequalities only have one variable. So we are writing our final answer with one variable. Our variable was x. And our x values have to be between 1 and 5. For this one, it is not or equal to. So these values are not going to be included in our answer. So one thing that you might want to do to help you out is put an open circle there. So our inequality, we're going to have 1. That is less than our x value. And then that x also has to be less than 5. That is how you can show that it's going to be between the values of 1 and 5. Okay, you can watch the next video for another example.